Hello to all of our listeners, and welcome to week 7 of Besties, a broadcast. We are talking today to a really good friend of mine. I know you guys must be fed up of me saying this, a really good friend of mine, but I swear she's a very good friend of mine. Her name's Shumea Khatun, and we are going to be talking about interfaith friendships. Again, remember that our co host is still in Dominica on holiday and she's enjoying her life, but she's going to be back next week. So Shumea is going to be my sit-in co-host for today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I know her. We worked together about 8 years ago, and she just, these people that they just automatically become your friends. I think we can say it like
Oh, I
that.
love it.
Yeah, we had this like only the other day we spoke about this. The time when I realized she was gonna be my forever friend was we shared an office together, just me and her, and we were both property lawyers. She still is. I'm no longer a property lawyer, but she still is. I practice a different area right now. And we sat in our office and we didn't really know each other as such, but I think she was on probably like day 2 or 3, and then I got some really bad news, some really sad news that my nanny had passed away. And then obviously I was so upset and I broke down in tears. And then I just felt somebody hug me from behind. And I mean, she didn't have to do that, but she did. And then obviously that's just my forever friend. So there you go. There's nothing else that I can say. Who does that, right? So that's my Shumbobs, which is what I call her. And I've known her for 8 years, and her friendship means a lot to me. She always supports me in things, even if we don't talk for a little while. When we talk again, it's just like amazing. It's like she's a feel good person, and I love her. And I'm going to invite her to say a little bit about herself and our friendship.
Hopefully, you can't. I'm trying to mask the cold and the aftermath of the cold, but we're getting there. But yeah, hi guys. My name's Shumia. I'm a property solicitor. I'm a mum of two lovely, lovely girls. And yeah, me and Malika, we've known each other for far too long.
Far too long.
So long that when we pick up the phone, it's as if we've just spoken yesterday.
Always, always. Yeah, that's our friendship, and it's deep. And you know what? We're girl moms, so that's a big bond as well.
Yeah, that's it. We're girl mums.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's the best.
And so we want to kick off today just talking in general about interfaith friendships. So I'm Catholic. I'm Christian, yes, but I was raised in the Catholic Church. I don't always just go to Catholic church. I will go to like another Christian church, for example, that. So, and then I try to even go to non-denominational Christian churches because I'm not really big on the whole religion thing. So, let me just say I'm Christian, and Shum is Muslim. And we want
Yep.
to talk about the importance of having interfaith friendships, the amount that we learn from each other, just as people from complete separate ends of the spectrum, if you like. Because
Yeah.
we know that religion can really divide people. We know we see these things all the time. But today
Mm-hmm.
we want to come together to explain how our differences unite us. So, first things first, Shum, can I ask you a question for the benefit of myself and the listeners as well? Please, can you explain the importance of Ramadan in the Muslim faith and what happens during that time? Bearing in mind that both Lent and Ramadan kick off around Wednesday-ish. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How do you know when the date is that
Yeah, of
Ramadan's going to
course.
start?
So, firstly, Ramadan is one of the pillars of our faith. So we've got five pillars in the Islamic faith, and Ramadan is one of them. For us, fasting is obviously really, really important. It starts when the new moon is sighted, which is it's potentially Wednesday if the moon is sighted on Tuesday, or it potentially starts from Thursday if the moon is sighted on Wednesday, basically. So it starts from the sighting of the new moon, and it would last for up to 30 days. It can be 29 days sometimes. Again, it's based on the sighting of the new moon to end the month of Ramadan, and that's when you would celebrate Eid. Um, but in terms of what happens during the month, we fast from sunrise to sunset. We fast, so we don't eat anything, we don't drink anything, or any. We basically, there's no water, no water, guys, no water. I swear I get asked this same question. What? Not even water?
I was literally going to ask you, so you don't drink water?
No, we don't have anything. We don't drink water. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm not gonna lie, I did lick like a Tic Tac or something and put it under my pillow. But no, you can't. You can't even drink water. You can breathe air, luckily, but you can't drink water.
So why is that? Can you tell me why that is?
I think, I mean, it's obviously a direct command from our God that this is one of the five pillars of Islam. We've been told in the Quran that we should fast for 30 days for the month of Ramadan. But in terms of what it does for you and what it means for you, obviously that can be quite individual. But although fasting is a physical thing of not eating, not drinking, increasing how much worship you carry out, it's also a heavily spiritual month, in the sense that it kind of reminds you what Islam is about. And it goes back to all of the teachings that our God has put in the Quran, and it kind of puts you in action of those teachings, so you live it and you breathe it, and you realize, I know a lot of people say usually for the month of Ramadan, it reminds you that if you're not so well off and you're poor or you haven't got food, like this is what life would be like. But I don't think it stops there. I think it goes a lot further than that.
Okay. Is what are the exceptions then?
So, during the month of Ramadan, you don't have to fast if you're pregnant, for example,
Mm.
if you are breastfeeding, so you've just given birth and you're breastfeeding, you don't need to fast. You also don't need to fast if you've got some kind of physical health that stops you from fasting. So that might be, for example, an illness that requires you to take daily medication, and you have to take that medication, and then you can't work it. If you can't work that medication around sunrise and sunset hours, then you don't need to fast. If you're really elderly as well, you're physically not able to fast, you're not required to fast. You don't need to fast, basically. And also for women that are menstruating, they don't need to fast that during that time that they're menstruating, and they just make those fasts up after Ramadan, basically.
Okay, and then at the end of Ramadan, then you have Eid.
Yeah. Basically, food coma day is what it should be called. Yeah, yeah, it's food coma day, basically. So yes, so you celebrate Eid after either 29 days or 30 days, depending on when the moon was sighted. You would celebrate Eid. And yeah, there's the difference with Eid is, like, on the day of Eid, obviously you're actually strictly not allowed to fast on Eid day. It's a commandment that you're not allowed to fast on Eid day, um, because Eid day is a day that you enjoy, the day you eat, you see, family, friends, you enjoy the day, basically. So, yeah,
Is Eid like to say your version of Christmas?
yes. Although we have two of them, but yes.
Okay, because I remember once I was driving to work in London and it was Eid, and I was just like in awe of all the people. It was like driving through East London, and I was just in awe of all the people
Yeah.
dressed up in their cars, and the traffic was crazy, and I was loving life. I was winding my window down and going, "Happy Eid!" I was so So, question: do you get the time up? Like, so would you request Eid as an annual leave day?
Yes, I've never come across a firm that has just given you Eid day off. I've never come across a firm, and I've worked in a fair few now, and I've never come across a firm where they give you that day off. So yes, I would have to take that day as annual leave. But obviously, we have two Eids, so I end up taking obviously annual leave for both of the Eids. So yeah, the answer is yes.
And so, can you just explain a little bit about the other Eid? So, I know about the Eid that ends,
Yeah.
just like how Easter would be the end of our Lenten season. But when is the other Eid?
The other Eid is about 2 months. I think it's 2 months and 10 days after this Eid. So the Eid after Ramadan is called Eid al Fitr, and the Eid that is 2 months and 10 days after this Eid
Mm.
is called Eid al Adha, and what that Eid signifies is it's a story about one of our prophets,
Mm.
and to you, you'd probably understand him as Abraham.
Okay,
So
right.
for us, yeah, for us, we have a prophet. We call him Ibrahim. So Ibrahim was commanded by God to sacrifice his son, and he absolutely submitted to that, and he took his son to sacrifice his own living son. And as he was about to do, he sacrificed what he thought was his son, but God had changed his son into like an animal. So when he'd come to realize, that it wasn't his son, the relief was great. But what it signifies is the sacrifices we are willing to make for our God. And that's, although that's in a physical way where, he was told to physically sacrifice his son, some sense, not in some sense, in an actual sense, we, on that Eid al-Adha day, we sacrifice an animal. So you can sacrifice a goat, you can sacrifice a cow, and what you would do with that meat is you would distribute it to the poor people, you distribute it to your family members, you would cook it yourself and feed your family members, you would distribute it to friends. So that's what the second Eid is about. The second Eid is about that sacrifice.
Shum, this is so interesting because the more you speak, is the more. No, honestly, the more you say is the more that I'm like. There's so many similarities because that was the story of Abraham in the Bible.
I have to admit, I don't exactly know what the story is about Abraham in the Bible. So that's the exact story, like identical, you mean?
Yeah, like it's just Abraham went on top of a mountain and then he had to sacrifice
Yes.
his son. And then
Yes.
just as
Yeah.
he was going to, then he was stopped. Like, so that is, that is something else.
Yeah.
Um,
That spot, the specific spot you're talking about, by the way, is still in Saudi Arabia,
oh, is it
and yes, it's still in Saudi Arabia, and I think there is like like a stone uh kind of piece that's there, and people go to visit it, like when
like a
we go
pilgrimage?
to Mecca for pilgrimage.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you go for Umrah or you go for Hajj, you'd go there, you'd visit it, and you'd see it's still there. But yeah, it was up on a hill. That's it. It's just the same thing.
Wow. Just talking about the similarities between, so, you have Ramadan starting on supposedly Wednesday. With Christianity now, you have on Wednesday, 18th of Feb 2026. This is when, according to the calendar, the Gregorian calendar, that's when Lent
Yeah.
starts. The date of Easter changes every year because it's based on the moon cycle. So Lent moves as well. So Lent has to be 40 days, preceding Easter. Okay. And so again, the same way what Ramadan is like, preparation, it's a bit of a preparation. It's time for prayers and things. Lent is a season of preparation before Easter as well. It's observed by many Christians around
Hmm.
the world. The Anglican Church, Catholic Church observe it. Growing up, what I know Lent to be is on Ash
Hmm.
Wednesday we go to get our ashes, and the ashes kind of just signify, when you go to church and the priest gives you your ashes, it just signifies like your, where they say from ashes you came and ashes you will return, just to know your
Yeah.
humanity basically.
Yeah, we have a similar saying that say that's we came from Allah, we belong to Allah. So it's like when you die, or yeah, other times as well, you can say that you say this phrase. So yeah, it's a similar thing.
Yes, so I know Lent is just being a time of reflection, repentance, turning away from sin, spiritual growth as well. A lot of people
Yeah.
fast. They fast and pray. It's one of the times that people do a lot of fasting. And it's just preparing for the celebration of Jesus' resurrection at Easter. So that's what Lent is all about. Um, a lot of
Hmm.
people decide, they're going to fast, they're going to give something up. So for me, for example, I can't even say, oh, I'm going to give up social media. One of my friends said she's going to give up social media, but I've got the podcast, can't really
It
give up
ain't
socials,
happening.
mate. So I am definitely going to spend more time in prayer. I am
Yeah.
going to give up the old wine. And I'll probably end up like something positive that I'll do in terms of that. I'll say, you know what, I'll go to the gym a bit more, that kind of thing. Just like something that I
Yeah.
can commit to and stick to reading. I'm gonna try and read my Bible every day, etc. So sure, I'm just tying this into your work as a solicitor. Both of us are solicitors under the courts of England and Wales. Um, where does your religion slot in terms of like, especially during Ramadan? How are you gonna fast and work? Because I'm not being funny. Some of the emails that we get, we need to drink a cup of water. What's going on?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's times where I'll get an email and I really have to, before I even start typing, I really have to take 10 deep breaths and really compose myself
Hmm.
before.
Don't I know it? We used to
But
work together.
yeah, exactly, exactly. You got me through many a Ramadan, but it's I mean, it depends, I guess, on the firm because I've worked at a fair few firms now. Not all firms are adaptable to it. They still want you to come in on at the same kind of time, or they want you to go home at the same kind of time, or um, things like that. And or they won't allow you to work from home. Really wasn't a thing, was it? Before pre-lockdown,
Yeah.
so pre-COVID. So in that sense, I think it does depend on the firm, but I've always been able to adapt in the firms that I've worked at, where they've adjusted timings for me, where I can kind of log on a little bit late. So kind of depends because we're currently in the winter months of Ramadan, so it kind of means that we break our fast fairly early. So we break around, I think this year we break around 5:30 ish, I think, in the evening.
Mm.
So I'm quite happy to finish work on time or earlier even. So I wouldn't mind even logging on earlier, for example. So I think in terms of adapting, I think with work, I may maybe log on a little bit earlier, get some work done. I'm not having a lunch break, so I might log off, take like a small break maybe in between, but log off a little bit earlier. So those are kind of the adjustments, I guess, and I guess that's how it slots in. But in terms of like annual leave for Eid and things like that, that's still something that I have to take. So that kind of hasn't changed.
No.
Um, but I guess that's how when you're fasting, it's kind of just another day, really. So although you're working, you just get on with it.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, do you feel like there's more that can be done in in just firms as a whole, workplaces, workplace culture as a whole, that can be done to facilitate Muslims at work?
Yeah, I think so. I think there can be a lot done. I think there is a lot more conversation about fasting and the month of Ramadan now. I think there has been more exposure on what the month is about, but I
Mm,
think there needs to be a few more changes in the workplace of how can we adapt to people that observe this month. And it's not just isolated, I think, to firms. I got like a message on my daughter's school app, and they were like, "Well, if some of the children want to fast, we won't be able to give them like a place for them to relax or anything." And that kind of struck me with, well, there are children. So as soon as you reach puberty, children are supposed to start fasting. And there's probably plenty of children that are in year 5, year 6 that will need to start fasting. and for them not to have a space to relax because they're not eating lunch. So why would they be in the dinner hall? It doesn't make sense.
That is so
So that kind of
true.
struck me. Yeah, there has to be some adjustments in those places, but also it can be taken to workplaces too, in the sense that, well, if sometimes they say, well, no, you've got to take your 1 hour lunch break in between work. But what's the point of that if I'm not eating? I, potentially I could just utilize that time better by logging off early when my energy levels are probably wavering towards the end of the day.
Hmm.
Why can't I adjust that? And I think there can be some places out there, not just law firms, but other kind of places, workplaces, where they don't make those adjustments, and they kind of expect you to be in work at a certain time, take your lunch break when you have to take your lunch break, and then be out of work at a certain time. And I think that's quite difficult. But work from home as well can be a lot easier. But sometimes I find, and okay, I get it to some extent. They've got equality to think about and all of that. But at the same time, there is the other person who has the freedom to be able to follow their religion and practice their religion. So I think it's a case of how do we weigh those things out, and how do we make those adjustments so that everybody's happy. But yes, I do think there can be some changes in the workplace.
Do you know what? This leads us nicely onto the topic of friendships and allies. And I'm talking about
Yeah,
allies that are not necessarily Muslim. Yeah? Because sure, I mean, you
yeah,
know me. If
yeah.
you come and say to me, I mean, we're talking back then, and we don't even work together anymore. But even if we, let's say we did, if you come and say to me, "Oh, babe, I'm not too happy about this," I feel like, before you can even complete the sentence, I'm already on the email. Sorry, who should we be
Before I
emailing?
finish that sentence,
Who do we need to speak to? Whose office? Sorry, knock knock. You
who
know
do
what I'm saying?
who do we
And
need to speak to?
who do we need to talk to sort these issues out? And I think that it is
Yeah,
important. Well, me personally, I know this is a question I have for you, but I think that it's
yeah,
very important to have friends of other faiths and creeds,
hmm,
people who are going to understand. Yeah. Um,
yeah,
Because think about it, in this little period of time, we have, through explaining about our respective religions and stuff, we have,
yeah,
seen comparisons between
yeah.
Christianity and
Similarities. Yeah,
Islam. You understand what I'm saying? Even if,
yeah,
yes, we don't
yeah,
have the exact same beliefs or whatever, but it's very similar stuff. So let me
yeah.
ask you this question. How important is it for you to have friends of other faiths and creeds?
Very important. And I wouldn't limit it just for like religious purposes, but generally speaking, it's really important because I think it's more important to me now, in the sense that I have children. I've got two girls. Um, I want them to see me associated with lots of different people from different backgrounds, religiously, racially, different backgrounds, because that's what the world consists of. They have to be open to that, and they have to see that I'm open to that too, and I'm in there as well. So it's so super important. But also, I think it's about the good values that different people from different backgrounds, friends, associates from different backgrounds and faiths, what they bring to the table. It's so important for me personally, because there's so much I can take away. There's so much good that I can take away from people. Um, so yeah, it's super important to have friends from different backgrounds and different faiths, to open up your brain, to open up your mindset, like, because you can really live in a bubble if you don't have people that you're associated with from different faiths and different backgrounds.
I agree, and
I don't know. Do you
especially
agree with that?
100%. And anyway, Shum, you know me. I have friends like all different, creeds, religions, etc. Do you know what? But I have to be honest. I have many an
Yeah.
acquaintance, me, okay, as you know. But I feel like you're definitely one of my true friends. But
Ah.
besides you, I would say my only other Muslim friend is a girl called Hamida. We're
Yeah.
very, very close now, especially now we work,
Hmm.
we are in the same area, so we're able
Hmm.
to go to lunch quite often. Um,
Oh, nice.
but besides you two, I don't have any more Muslim friends. And I can't. The thing is, I know it sounds bad, right? That doesn't. I wouldn't say, oh, that makes me sad because again, the quality and not quantity is everything for me.
Yes.
Quality is everything. I
Yes.
have a friend. I keep saying to her, when you have your
Yes.
birthday and when you have certain things, you keep inviting the whole world. My darling, it's not about that. It's about the quality of your friendships. Yeah. But then at the same
100%.
time,
Yeah.
I do worry, like, is it something that, because I want my daughter to, one of the things that I really do want from Mackenzie is that she's like me in that sense. Everything else she can discard because whatever. But I want her to be like me in the sense of having
She will.
friends from everywhere. Do you know what I mean, Shum?
She will. Yeah, I do. I get that. I get that. But I think she's gonna be like you because you're a social butterfly, and I feel like she's just gonna watch you and study you and become a social butterfly herself.
But also, I want her to form friendships with like your daughters as well. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's this is important. So I know you're saying it's literally Hamida and me, but then you've forgotten the extensions of Hamida and me. I mean, I don't know if Hamida's got kids, but I mean, you've got extensions of me at least. You've got my two girls, and like where we can do play dates, and she can actually play with them, and one day when they're able to speak to each other, they'll talk to each other and they'll discuss odd things like, oh, how comes you've got two Eids and I've only got one Christmas? Like, I'm
Exactly.
sure they're gonna.
Shum, I remember, right? I mean, you taught me so much. There used to be times when you would bring me food from like the day before, after you broke your fast, you bring me some
Yeah.
food. Excuse me, I haven't had biryani like that since. Excuse me, please.
So when are you
Yeah,
coming? When are you coming for
I'm coming
biryani?
through, Shum. Yeah, even like if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know that you will refer to prayers as doers. If you
Yeah, do
say
us.
remember,
Yeah.
yeah, like stuff like that. Like, how would I
Yeah.
know that if it wasn't for you? The other day,
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
example,
This is it.
yeah, I had to send
Hmm.
my friend Hamida a card because her dad passed away. May he so rest in peace. And then I said, Mida, to
Oh,
confirm your address, I'll send the card. Anyway, by the time the card reached, I said, oh, so when is the funeral? She said, babe, the funeral's happened already. What do you mean? It happens either the next day or whatever. I'm like,
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like all these things I learned through my friends. Like, I don't know about that stuff,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's true.
So
And you
you
wouldn't. You
just,
wouldn't unless you're exposed to those people. Yeah.
well, exactly. And even at work, as I said, you have your colleagues and stuff that are different religions, so you can speak to them. But even that is just on a surface level. And you want to
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
at least I want to be like, how many times, Shum, I've been to your house a couple of times and stuff. But
Yeah.
I need to come
Yeah.
to your house a bit more. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Um,
you do.
I just want to ask you one last question. Look at that, we're going over time, but this is very important conversation. Um, Shim, what are some of the misconceptions about Islam and Muslims as a group of people which irritate you? Because I know you can get irritable, you. And what could I do as your friend?
I can.
What could I do as your friend to help dispel any negativity surrounding your faith?
I feel like this might be a really obvious answer, but it just, I think generally speaking, Islam is always associated with bad things like terrorism and any kind of anything that any kind of anything to do with terrorism. It's always like, oh yeah, it was the Muslims, um because I
Yeah.
remember when 9/11 happened. Actually, I was fairly young, and that was like the snowball effect into that ideology. And I used to get on the train and people used to get moved from the seat next to me and sit somewhere else because I was of clearly visibly like a Muslim woman, a girl, and they would just move, like they would just sit somewhere else, and you could see the shift and this. But it's always um this kind of, I don't know, like this fear, like somebody that's a bearded brother can get on a train and he'll just get funny looks, or sometimes someone can get on the train and they'll be reading the Quran, but that's just what they do just on during their journey. But somebody might be thinking, oh, that's a bit odd. But I think um to get to, I think that's the annoying thing, that sometimes all Muslims get painted with the same brush in the eyes of some. I'm not saying everybody. In the eyes of some people, I feel like Muslims get painted as like the enemy because of media, because of, other people that just have really bad ideologies. So that's quite annoying. But in terms of how you can help, support. You're doing what you're doing, you know what I mean? You're supporting. If you were to ever see that in person, I know for a fact you'd go and pick a fight with that person.
So why
If
you got
somebody
out
was
me
to look
like
at me
that on the
funny, or
socials? You're outing me, right? I don't always like to fight,
you'd
but
be
no.
in their face, up in their grill.
Girl. Okay. Yeah, no,
So
sure,
yeah,
I'm
that
gonna
can be.
support you. And even when I see certain things, right, it's a tricky one because before I
Mm,
used to be a bit, I was allowed to be a little bit more vocal. But you know how it is with our jobs and stuff. We just have to like, whatever, try
yeah,
to keep, keep the
yeah,
peace and stuff. So, but no, wrong is wrong at the end of the day. So, I've always got your back.
yeah.
I love you, my
Love you
fave,
loads.
my shumbobs. Um, Shum, you know what? We need to actually put a date in the diary. Like, this is not a joke.
Yeah,
Get the diary.
this
Make
is
sure you
not
text
the
me
fact. The fact that we can't stop
tomorrow.
talking.
Shum, we haven't stopped talking. Like, I don't think you understand.
We haven't stopped talking.
Guys, I love her. She's my fave. We always chat, chat, chat. But I don't know how we used to get any work done at that firm. But we used to churn out
I
the
don't
work
know.
though.
Well, let's be honest. God knows. God knows where that
Honestly.
all of that came from.
Honestly,
At
we
least we
used
know
to.
we can multitask, right?
Exactly. We're really good at multitasking. And honestly, Shum's
That's it.
always had my back. She just taught me, she really bailed me out of some sticky situations. Honestly, that girl, the best.
And I always will.
Always will, right? But no, Shum, it's been amazing having you on. I really enjoyed today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome, my love. Thank you so much. I want to just give you a brief insight into next week's episode. We're rounding off Black History Month. It's Black History Month, not in the UK, because I believe that's in October in the UK, but in the States, it's in February. The whole of February is used for Black History Month. And because obviously our co host, The Bestie Abroad, is US based, so we've got to give her a little limelight as well. It's not all about me in the UK. So we've got a US based guest coming to speak to us and let us know how she celebrated Black History Month in the US. That's going to be Jasmine Paul for next week, episode 8 of Bestie's a Broadcast. And otherwise, what we'd like from you is to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, like and share. And thank you to all of Shum's people who have listened. We appreciate you. Thanks for following us on Instagram. We're almost at 100 followers. Go, like, and share. Thank you,
Woo,
everybody.
woo, woo.
Bye, Shum Bob. I love you.
Bye.